Aviation. And then now we're switching it up again, coming outside of the cockpit to speak with our very own Curtis Marsh. So I am going to see if he's ready to join us now. And so happy Father's Day again to all the fathers out there. There he is, the great Curtis Marsh.
How are you, Sam?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm blessed. I'm very grateful to be alive, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yeah. Likewise, happy to be alive. So listen, Curtis. So this live is going to be different than all the others that we have done because I mean, you and I and the club have so much history. Coming from Meadowbrook High School, where this club was envisioned, and big up Crystal Marsh, Mrs. Marsh, the wife of Curtis Marsh. Um, so yeah, we have rich history from way back in 2006 to now 2020. That's all of 14 years.
Right.
And like we did yesterday in our club meeting, well, the club meeting was specifically about the aerospace industry. So we exposed the participants to what the aerospace industry is all about.
Right.
But taking the aerospace industry out of what we're going to be discussing today, we really just wanted to highlight your journey because you're still young. You are a very driven individual, and you had your passion and your goal in aviation, and you're well on your way to achieving it. And I know it doesn't just stop at being an aerospace engineer. So pretty much, we want to talk about your journey from back then at Meadowbrook High School to where you are now. But before we get into the meat of that, just so that the persons who are viewing can get an idea, who is Curtis Marsh before the whole aerospace engineering, before the whole Meadowbrook High School past student, before the past club member, all of that stuff. Who is Curtis Marsh? Let the folks know.
All right, Sam. I thank you. So first off, before you jump into my story, who I am, I want to always give it back to you. I will always give you the respect that you deserve because if you didn't have that vision at Meadowbrook High School with the aviation club, then I wouldn't be here today. You know what I mean? So I want to always say thank you to you. Thank you for always staying true to your goals, to your dreams, and not just keeping it to yourself, but opening it up so that person like myself could have taken part in it and realized my dream through your passion. You know what I mean? So thank you, Sam, for
My
that.
pleasure. Yeah, man.
All right, so who is Curtis Marsh? um,
Yeah.
just being real, I want to be very authentic. Grew up Kingston, Jamaica, right? Very, very humble backgrounds. Some of you guys, I'm assuming most persons here are from Jamaica on the call, so you guys know, Whitehall Avenue, right? Surrounded by, violence, crime, the whole works that most persons growing up would have seen, and you know, but one of the biggest things is that my mother was always my biggest motivation. She was always my why. We always talk about like in my wife and I, we always talk about our why is what helps you, what hurts you to keep you getting out of bed every single day. So growing up, she was my biggest motivation. She grew myself, my brother, my cousin as a single parent, and that wasn't easy at all. And that made me really hungry and really driven to be successful at that age. So went through school, went to Meadowbrook High School like you and I. Those days were were some good days,
Yeah.
right? Um, at Meadowbrook, when I just got there, my passion, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do, to be honest. Seventh grade, eighth
Sure.
grade, you're still trying to figure out what you want to do. But I didn't feel inclined to any specific career field, to be honest. I
Sure.
wasn't. Um, but for some reason, when you started the aviation club, I was like, hmm, that's different. I felt some inclination towards it, and I was like, wait a minute, let me check it out. And then when I saw what it was about, I started looking into aviation and looking at airplanes and getting fascinated by it. How can something that massive be flying in the air? I was like intrigued. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I developed a passion for it. Um, but I'm a person that outside of aviation. I don't want to go there yet. 'Cause I know we're talking about my story.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love to say I'm a humble person. Um, I give God praise for every single thing that happens in my life. That's a huge thing. I love playing football. I know I'm in the
Okay.
US
Yeah.
now, so
Yeah.
this is soccer, right? But football, I would say, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So I played Manning Cup, I played Coles, Pepsi, play for club teams, Real Mona, different clubs all across the island. Um, I was a part of school challenge quiz at some point. Um, I was always someone who liked to dip into different things. That was kind of my
Okay.
personality. So that was it. Curtis Marsh is a person who always believed that he can achieve anything that he puts his mind to. Right. Initially
Definitely.
before, because I wanted to start playing. Initially before, my faith as it got to where it was, as a Christian, it was just more so, always be motivated internally. Right. I always wanted to
Mm.
be more. I want to achieve more, and then just marrying that with knowing that I can achieve anything I want to achieve, um, through faith, then it was endless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so hopefully
Okay.
that summarizes who Curtis Marsh is.
Yeah, definitely. I think it gives the folks a good idea on who the person is, what type of character and personality Curtis Marsh has. So, so let's get into the meat of things now. We know who Curtis Marsh is. So, why are you here? And as I said earlier before we started the live, I mean, you are someone who started out with the club and benefited from transitioning from an aviation enthusiast to an aviation professional. But
Mhm.
I know you are young, like I am, 26 years old, and you have achieved what many have not achieved in a lifetime, especially coming from such humble beginnings in Jamaica on Whitehall Avenue and stuff. So before we even get to the aerospace engineering, I want persons to kind of understand what are some of the challenges that you had to deal with, not even towards becoming an aviation professional, but just some of the life challenges that you had to deal with that you were able to overcome, you know, which of course played a part in you achieving your professional goal.
All right, that's a good question. Um, I went through many challenges, to be honest. Um, I mean, during like financial struggles was always a thing, and I think that's kind of widespread amongst most persons going to school. But going to high school and stuff, like there were times when lunch money wasn't even a thing, right?
Mhm.
So we had to literally become creative,
Yeah.
become creative. You know what I'm talking about in high
Yeah, man, I
school.
know exactly what you thought. Yes, I do. I
Eh,
remember it
eh,
well.
right? To make sure that we have money to go to school. Now, of course, my mother should do her best. Um, but I always wanted to make sure that I'm providing as well, even at a young age. So got creative. We had our own little small hustlings and businesses all around the place, trying to provide for ourselves. Um, so the financial struggle was one. Also, what I would say, I remember vividly when I got a scholarship once when we went to the seminar, you and I, and
Yes.
we did
It was a
a
test.
test, right? Aptitude
Yeah.
test for becoming a
Yes.
pilot.
Yeah.
And I was ecstatic. I was like excited. I was like, yes, I want to get my licenses right now to be a pilot. And
Hmm.
then I saw the tuition bill, and I was like, wow, right? And
Yeah.
I was like, God, I don't know how this is gonna happen. And that really kind of crushed me when I realized I couldn't actually afford to pursue my dream as being a pilot. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
but in hindsight, I realized that it was for a reason. Maybe that wasn't the place I needed to go at the time.
Hmm.
So that was a big, back then it was like a failure in my mind, but right now it's more of a lesson. You know what I mean? Um,
Definitely.
other challenges. There's always personal struggles as well. Um,
Hmm.
that I may not want to go into that right now, but just like personal struggles, of course,
Definitely.
overcoming
Hmm.
overcoming fears of, Because even though I was motivated, that motivation doesn't come without fear, doesn't come without doubt.
True. Yeah.
Um, so it's overcoming the obstacle of getting out of your own way to become successful. Um,
Mhm.
whether it was with my schoolwork, um, there were times when, even though I did well in school, but there were times when, it was really hard, to get the grades that I got. Um,
Mhm.
so it's overcoming the peer pressure that's around, just saying, okay, you're playing ball, you shouldn't, maybe you don't need to study that much, right? Stuff like
Mhm.
that. Just overcoming those things and making sure that I kept my why in front of me, right? Why am I
Definitely.
actually doing this? Okay, I want to make sure that my mother is set for life. I want to make sure that I'm creating a legacy. I always wanted to be known for someone who not just fit in or just do what the masses did, but just observe the masses and do the opposite, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And to put things into perspective, and I'm hope prepared, but I'm definitely going to put you on the spot
Go
because
for it.
I want persons to understand the type of things that you went through as a person, the things that you overcame to get where you are now. So for persons to understand, when Curtis said that he had to create or be creative, and I saw Crystal laughing, he had to sell donuts on campus just to. I mean, at that time, I didn't know why he was doing it. I just think that they had this great product. It was actually very great because I remember spending hundreds of dollars on those little small donuts
Oh
that he used
man.
to sell out of this green Jansport bag,
Hmm.
and they were very good. But at the time, I didn't understand the struggle as to the reason why he and others had to do it. But it was very profitable. But on the other hand, when I started to get to know Curtis and started to be privileged to see where he lived and the conditions that he was living in, then you'll get to understand what he was going through. But as much as I know about Curtis, Curtis excelled in school, excelled in sports, was even the team captain, if I remember correctly, the Manning Cup team captain for maybe a year or two, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
You know, but having to juggle all of that, school, sports, not being brought down by not having enough money, things like that, and to see you develop into the type of person that you are now is pretty um, admirable, I should say. So, you know, um,
Can I add
I
something
mean,
to that real quick, Sam?
definitely, yeah,
Yeah, so just expound on the whole donut story. So we had like a conglomerate pretty much going on. Um,
yeah,
and we did that. We sold donuts. We had our phone business. We bought and sold phones. We just got creative. And to be honest, that
yeah,
actually helped us to, help me to have money to, buy to take the pressure off my mother to, worry about shoes or a John Sport, right, when you're going
definitely,
back to school. And even some of that money was put towards going to school, like going to
mhm,
Tinsipen to rent airplanes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We'll talk about that later on, but it was just a no quit, no excuse mentality.
Definitely, and which continues to today. So, what was life at Meadowbrook like for you? So, of course, went to Meadowbrook High School. You did up to grade 12, both years. But what was, in general, what was the Meadowbrook life like for you?
Um, yeah, we can be real, right? It's,
Yeah,
it's a
man,
it's a
definitely,
real
absolutely.
life. All right, so
Yeah, man,
um,
definitely, please.
I mean, at Meadowbrook, I mean, from seventh grade to 11th grade. I mean, I took school seriously and all that. I didn't really struggle to keep my grades up.
Okay.
I think I was fortunate enough to not struggle with that. Um, it's from seventh grade. I just wanted to pretty much set myself up um, with my education and socially. I wanted to keep things balanced. That was kind of my mentality. I want to have a balance of my grades. I want to have a balance of my social life. I want a balance of sports and all that. But I was always a person just in the background, just like chilling. I didn't used to like talk to people, to be honest. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you can remember that. I had this thing, and I know my wife was on the line as well watching. I had this thing where it was silly back then, but I had a quota for the day. If I felt like I said too many words in the morning, I'm done talking for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? So that was kind
Okay.
of my thing.
Yeah.
I just love to listen more and understand what people are saying before I responded. And I think that kind
Okay.
of served me well doing medical because I think that helped me to maybe win the favor of a lot of the teachers and the admin staff because maybe they saw that as being a mature thing. So my high school years work a bit seamless. No disciplinary action, nothing like that. Just getting my work done and
Yeah.
being involved in sports. We did interform. That was fun.
Yes.
Coming together. Yeah,
Definitely.
that was always fun doing interform. What else was fun? I mean, going to the Manic Cup games and playing.
Definitely. Yes.
Even though we'd love to see maybe go further in Manic Cup, we tried our best.
Yeah, that's true.
That was the thing as well. Yeah, I mean, if there's something specific you want me to talk about at Meadowbrook, I'm all ears. But it was really just
All
getting
right.
my schoolwork done and
Definitely.
getting my grades up.
So let's talk about the club now. So you eventually joined the club, and it was through the club that we eventually met. So
Right.
how did the club benefit you back at Meadowbrook High School in your time?
All right. So all right. This is where the passion kicks in now because um, in eighth grade, once I heard about the club and my interest was piqued,
Hmm.
it moved me from just being interested in aircraft to actually literally taking my first flight, literally understanding how an aircraft works, understanding the phonetic alphabet, understanding different things surrounding aviation. So when we started having our first club meetings on Thursdays, it literally stretched me to becoming more of a leader, even though I was a teenager, right? Because we
Sure.
literally had to become the president of the club, the treasurer of the club, the whatever of the club for all the other students on campus. All right. So whenever we're hosting our club meetings, we had to do our own research before we jump on, before we went in front of everyone to talk about whatever we want to talk about. So
Mhm.
it stretched me to become more of a leader, and I think it was uncomfortable, but that discomfort created greatness within all of us who were part of the club initially. So it definitely helped me with
Sure.
being a leader. It put us into circles with persons who it wouldn't normally just like rub shoulders with, right? We were talking to pilots, we were talking to ATCs, we were talking to persons even outside of the country. I remember once, I'm pretty sure you remember, we were approached by, I think it was a company in France,
Yes.
right? I'm not sure you remember
Yeah.
that, a company
Yeah.
in France saying, "Hey, we love what the club is doing. We want you guys to come over to test our flight simulators." And we were like, little high school kids,
Yes.
like what is
Yeah.
this,
I
right?
remember.
Right? and
Yeah.
and it took us from there to actually going to having meetings with other persons, talking about the vision of the club as well. So it really stretched me to becoming a more disciplined, um, a more expanding my vision at a young age to see, okay, what can I really become if we really take this aviation club thing seriously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it definitely helped me to become the person I am today, 100%.
Definitely. And I remember through the club, then we started to develop relationships. We thrived on relationships locally and internationally, as you were saying.
Hmm.
So we saw potential, and we kind of plowed our own path to becoming aviation professionals, and then as a result, others behind us benefited as
Right.
well. So you were the first person to benefit from those relationships, or one of the first persons to benefit from those relationships that were created. We had created a relationship with the local flight school. We would have been given the opportunity from Meadowbrook to go to the airport, and when we actually went to the airport, we actually flew the airplanes in our, uniform and all of that. You took your first flight in a Cessna 172,
Hmm.
and then we started to look at certain things and say, wait, this thing can actually work. I remember persons laughed at us for leaving high school in our bowler suits with a green and blue crest and say, "What them youth here go about
Yeah.
them go fly planes, right?"
Yeah, man. Yeah,
And then at
man.
the end of the day, that same person who laughed at us was the same person who came and interviewed us a few years later. And I think the title of that interview was Pilots Aged 20 and Younger. You know,
Yeah,
so
I remember that.
we achieved a lot just within that time frame. Um, but then when we were finishing high school, you know, we enjoyed the club. We enjoyed having the pilots and different professionals coming into our club meetings. We enjoyed the different field trips to go out to the airport and mix and mingle and kind of build our network. But then we were ending high school at a particular time. You know, what were we gonna do after that? And that's when we actually sat down and said, okay, we need to figure out what the next plan is. And I remember seeing Whitehall Avenue, going through the laptop, looking at some options, eating sardine and crackers. Never forget it. And
Facts.
Florida Tech came up. And when we looked at Florida Tech, I was like, wow, you know, this is nice. And then looked at the tuition, I'm like, okay, yeah, this probably not gonna work out. You know, this look like a UA or UTech thing because Florida Tech and the other universities overseas were just pricey. And then when you look that you have to convert the Jamaican currency to the US currency to be able
Right.
to attend school over there, especially with the living expenses and all of that, you know, where it's like, okay, we could brush this aside and, you know, that's a can't manage this right now, right?
Yeah.
But then it is so funny that a couple years later, the same place that we stopped at is the same place that you ended up attending and ended up being a success at. You know, you've been there for the 4 years and you know achieved tremendous success. But what a lot of people will see is that they will see that yes, he benefited from the club. Yes, he got a scholarship to go to FIT. Yes, he went to FIT and excelled, and yes, he became an aerospace engineer. But the journey from point A to point B, a lot of people don't know what happened between point A and point B, and as a result, people always see the end result, right?
Yeah.
Always see the glamorous side of stuff and don't know what it takes to get there. So I wanted to discuss with you today, in front of everyone here, what those challenges were,
Yeah.
how you overcame them. Um, and I mean, I know there are many, so whatever we can touch on would be good. Because first of all, getting to Florida Tech was a major issue,
Yeah.
right? But how did you overcome that issue to be able to get to Florida Tech?
Okay. That's a good question. And you're right. Like from the outside looking in, it seems all glamorous and oh, you know, you just had it easy. It definitely wasn't easy at all. I remember
Definitely.
that same day you and I were at Whitehall and we're just there eating right crackers and thing right
Yeah, man, I remember.
and looking at for schools and but before even that let's talk about how we even started looking for schools because
Yeah, man.
initially I wanted to be a pilot right but things
Sure,
changed to
yes.
being an engineer. What happened was because I didn't get that scholarship to go to that flight school which was in Orlando I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for some reason we were at Tinsipen, you know. Always that was our hangout spot because if you want to be successful, hang where the persons are that are
Yes,
having your
definitely.
success is right. That's the first thing that we realized.
Yeah,
So I was at
yeah.
Tinsipen, and one of the pilots said to me, he was Curtis, you know, you love math, you love physics. Why not do engineering? Why not go the engineering route instead? You can always get your licenses anytime afterwards, right? And a
Yeah.
light bulb went off in my head. I was like, that makes sense. So that's when we started looking into like, okay, what kind of engineering is present within aviation? And I always want to do the best. Like,
Definitely.
so I was like, what's the best engineering in aviation? Okay, aerospace. So we started looking for schools, and that's how we ended up at Whitehall looking for schools. We found FIT, and the tuition was astronomical. Um,
Yep.
it did demotivate us. We were like, sheesh, this probably not gonna work out. But
Yep.
because of the experience we had at the club of having meetings with persons who were way older than us, and we had this. I believe it was your uncle or someone who told us this one thing that he said the worst thing someone can tell you is no,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
right? So it's always ask. The worst thing they can say is no.
yeah,
So we were like, all right, just apply it. Applied FRT. The worst you can say is no. Applied,
yeah,
and when I got through, and when I got that email, I was like, wait, I got through. All right, good, because I didn't apply to any other school. I'm not sure the faith level that would took to get this thing done. Didn't apply
yeah,
to UA, no, I didn't want to stay in Jamaica. I wanted to leave because I was like, you know what? I feel like I could get the best education. Not that Jamaica doesn't have, like, we are brilliant people, talented, but for that specific career field, I wanted to go where I will get the best education for it. So I
hmm
didn't apply to any other school, no plan B, only plan A. Got accepted, but what I didn't realize was, Sam, I didn't realize what was the tuition that we were looking at. I thought it was a per year tuition, but rather it was a per semester tuition.
semester. Yeah, yeah,
So when I saw
yeah. I remember.
so when I got the email with the package and I saw the fees and I was like, okay, yeah, that 25 G's look all right, that looks good. That's no, it looks astronomical, but let's see how we can get that done. It was per semester. And I was like to be honest, I'm not somebody who breaks down at all. I'm a very tough skinned person, but that literally hit me.
Hmm
That hit me. I just walked away from the PC and walked inside my room. I just like when I feel stressed, I just like sleep. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
just sleep. You know what I'm saying? So that really hit me for six, and I was like, Jono, it's probably not gonna work out. I
yeah,
didn't apply for any other school, so what am I gonna do? Um, but you know, after all that, sulking, I got up and brushed myself off and started to think about ways in which we can get it done. Because one of the things that keep us down as human beings, we start thinking about, okay, what if it doesn't work? Oh, it's not gonna work. We start to defeat ourselves before we actually give ourselves a fighting chance to make that thing work. So I started thinking, okay, how can we make this work? And through that thought
definitely.
process, we started thinking about, okay, let's see if we can get some loans. Because FIT did give me a scholarship, not a
Hmm
part scholarship through the aviation club, which I'm thankful for. But the rest of the tuition needed to be paid, and we were able to, secure some loans to go to school for the rest of the tuition. So that's how we got to FIT. All right. Now let's talk about FIT, like that 4 years. Definitely was not easy. I'm gonna tell you. Um, Aerospace engineering is not an easy degree
Yeah,
to get. Um, from day one, I mean, it's exciting, but you got to be prepared to go through all levels of mathematics that you can ever think of. All right, from
okay.
your pre-calc to your calc one, your calc two, your calc three, your differential equations, your partial differential equations, right? Your compressible flow equation, your thermodynamics, right? Your then because aerospace is not just sub-Earth atmosphere, right? It's not just
hmm
that. It's a combination of what aircrafts and also
hmm
spacecrafts. So
Yes.
you're doing both in one. So you're
Yeah.
also doing orbital mechanics, right? Calculating how fast you can get to Mars, like doing your orbital mechanics. Yeah, you're building rockets. Like you're doing, it's a rocket science. But that
Yeah.
excited me. I was driven by challenges, so that excited me. But it was not easy. So the
Yeah.
course content in itself was hard. So I got through high school, though I studied, but I got through high school not maybe not putting that level of effort into studying,
Sure. Yeah.
right? And it was more of an individual thing going to high school. You can
Sure.
always you will play FIFA sometime the night before an exam, and then and then you go to the exam and do good, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
you cannot dare do that when you're doing engineering. Always like I think the most amount of sleep I've gotten in college was probably 4 hours. The
Wow.
average
Okay.
the average sleep I got at night time was 4 hours of sleep. You know what I mean? You got to stay up long hours in the labs, studying with your classmates, working on projects. Um, And but even so, imagine being able having that stress of getting your work done, but no, you're still struggling to pay your tuition because even though I took out some loans, that was just for the first year. I didn't know what's
Yeah.
gonna happen in the second year, right? And there came a point where I was after the first year, grades were good and stuff. I didn't know where tuition was gonna come from for the second year. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like, God, what's gonna happen? I literally was literally asking persons to co-sign loans for me. People I didn't
Yeah.
even know. Like I haven't said this to like publicly before, but I was literally asking people, they can you co-sign a loan for me? People I didn't even know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
that was heart wrenching. While other persons were just like floating through, right? Because their
Yeah.
tuition was fully paid. I had to deal with getting my grades, keeping my grades so I can still keep my scholarship, but but
Yeah.
struggling to find the tuition, and that wasn't easy. Plus, I was working 3 jobs during college. Like
Okay. Yeah.
I was, I was a personal trainer at the gym. I
Mhm.
got a job I did some moving. I was at a moving company at one point.
Yeah.
I did working at Walmart at some point as well. I was
Yeah.
in all manner of things. I was coaching football. But
Mhm.
that's like four. I didn't even remember that one.
Yeah.
So because I wasn't just taking care of me, I was making sure that I was all right. Plus, still trying to do as much as I can to help family as well.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it was a lot of pressure, a lot of struggles, but it didn't seem that way from the outside looking in. Um, but we made it work. We made it work. Let me see. There's a lot. I'm trying to pick and choose the ones to mention.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's a lot, definitely, and a lot of the stuff that you even mentioned. No, I didn't know,
Yeah,
but I knew a little bit of the struggles that you had to face to get
yeah,
where you are now.
yeah,
And I mean, I think that definitely gives the viewers an idea of what it took to get where you are now. But
yeah.
on the more exciting part, what were some of the most interesting, well, first of all, most interesting people that you have met? Because I
Mm,
understand that the aerospace program is sponsored or has an affiliation with NASA, right? Because the Melbourne campus for FIT is very close to the NASA facility in the US.
right.
So, some of the interesting people that you have met, some of the interesting projects that you have worked on, interesting things that you have seen, in terms of aerospace engineering. Let's touch a little bit on that side of things.
All right, let's go. All right, um, so one of my first projects, like in my first year of college, was we were tasked to design a rocket. All right, to
Okay.
design a rocket, do all the calculations. It was a competition between us as freshmen, which is like a first year in college, to design a rocket that can take off and go precisely to 1,000 feet and then
Okay.
land safely with a parachute. So when I say precisely,
Yeah.
not just beyond 1,000, exactly 1,000. You want to go as close as you can to it.
Okay.
So we did all our calculations for that in MATLAB, and then we literally fabricated all the parts in the machine shop with balsa wood. All right, we got a a little electronic engine. We
Mhm.
stuff it in there, and then we did our calculation for wind correction on that day. Every single thing. They
Mhm.
went out to a
Okay.
massive field, and we just launching rockets all day, just launching rockets.
So
I
so did it
think,
actually get to 1,000 feet?
yeah, man, that's it. Well, my team. So I can humbly say that my team, we got to 1,024 feet. That was our no, closest
Oh,
number.
okay.
So we were within
Okay.
like 0.025% of 0.25%, I guess, 0.025, whatever, closer of that target. You
Okay.
know what I mean? So that was fun. That was definitely fun.
So, so did the rocket have like an altimeter on it for you to know that you
Yeah,
went to 1,024?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. We attached an altimeter to it for sure, and we
not
were able
bad.
to take off to deploy it multiple times because we had the parachute. It landed safely. So if it didn't land safely, then it would have failed. So we were able to
Yeah,
do it over and over and over again. So that was fun. That's first year of college. That was fun,
it's exciting. Yeah.
exciting. Um, I'm not sure how many persons know, but FIT was created for by NASA in a sense.
Mhm.
So NASA had a shortage of engineers,
Okay.
so they actually founded FIT for that purpose to kind of funnel engineers to NASA.
Okay. Mhm.
Um, so the story of FIT was it's pretty interesting.
Mhm.
Um, one experience I would never ever forget was I got the unique opportunity to watch a rocket launch live at the NASA facility. We were the closest persons to that launch in the entire world. And
Really?
we were a couple miles away
Safe
from the
distance
launch.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, safe, like hundreds of miles, like from the actual launch pad. But when that rocket took
Mhm.
off, the it was like the sun just literally illuminating, so bright, and you were so far from it. So I can never forget that moment. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, what other projects? So in my final year, two projects that I worked on, which were amazing, was we were tasked to develop a to redesign a drone. So the military had this drone. It's called a Raven RQ drone. That runs on a certain type of engine. We were tasked to replace that engine with a Ionic Wind thruster engine. So
Okay.
what Ionic Wind is pretty much just imagine like a round metallic like duct, and
Mhm.
you're forcing air through it, and you're charging up that duct with so that it becomes the air that's passing through speeds up. So it magnetizes
Okay.
the air and it speeds up and forces air out the other direction. So we're trying to see if we can use that type of technology for a drone within the Earth atmosphere. They use that type of technology for outer space applications because in space it's just a vacuum. So it doesn't take much force to move things around, right? We've seen it in the
Mhm.
movies. But we
Yes.
were tasked to do that for a drone here.
Mhm.
And we did all the calculations for it, right? And we failed miserably. Yeah. So we
Okay.
proved that. So I wouldn't say it's a fail, but we proved that it couldn't have worked because it would have taken too many amps to actually um get do it safely. So in
Okay.
theory, we actually proved that it couldn't be done. So we passed. All right.
Okay.
So that's great. We passed. Um,
Okay.
and one of the most um another project I worked on was I was for my senior design project. I was the only we were tasked to be like an interdisciplinary team of mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, aerospace engineers to work on a single project. So we had to design a Formula One racing car.
I
I
think
think I
I
have a
remember
picture
that.
of it. Yeah, I think yeah,
Yeah.
you saw it.
Yeah.
So my job as the aerospace engineer was to do all the calculations for how the air is going to be moved over the vehicle to make
Okay.
sure that we optimize the shape of the vehicle for
Mhm.
the speed that's going to be traveling at. So what we
Okay.
did, I did all the calculations for that. We fabricated the body of the Formula One car fully from carbon fiber. So we literally got machine shop certified, and we laid up every single fiber of carbon fiber and got that done. And once we 3D printed the intake manifold for the car, literally 3D printed it,
Yeah.
and once the car was done, we put a Honda CBR engine in the back in on that car. That's what we used to to power it.
Okay.
And yeah, that was an amazing 1 year long project. That was amazing. I had so much fun with that. And we took the car
Yeah.
to Michigan to race it at Michigan International Speedway against other teams in the US and outside the US to
Mhm.
see who would come first, to do endurance checks, to do brake checks. Um, that was
Yeah.
amazing. That was one of the most fun project I've ever worked on. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And there's a lot of other ones that I worked on as well. Um,
Sure.
but I think those are the highlights.
But those two stand out.
Yeah, those two stand out for sure.
Okay. Well, that's good. And apart from, I should say, those projects that you have done and the things that you have seen, what recreational activities were you able to take part in while at Florida Tech?
All right. So, I mean, I love football, so it doesn't matter where I go. If I'm in Alaska, if I'm in Antarctica, I'm gonna be playing football. So, um, I was playing intramural football for the school as well. Um,
Okay.
I I wanted to play for the varsity, which was like playing for the school to travel, but I had
Mhm.
to make a decision whether or not I wanted to do that or put more time and effort into studying to be an engineer because of many of the persons who were a part of the football team, they were missing class a lot. So I didn't want that to happen. You know what I mean? In high school, like I could have literally just studied the day before, after applying myself. So I just played intramural football. Um, what else did I do? I think that was pretty much all I did. I didn't have much time to do a lot of other stuff. I just
Yeah.
I just played ball for most of the times when I'm not actually studying. Um, yeah. And well, actually, I I made it a hobby to work on my car. So remember from Medibrook days, right? We're
Yeah.
hustlers, all right. So
Yeah.
when I got bought my first car, I literally after from working 3 jobs, got back some tax returns and I started to start to look around for cars. Bought my first car and I just made it my project to just work on it. So whenever I have spare time, I change the oil, I do different things on it, buy parts for it. Um, but
Yeah.
one major thing though that happened at FIT was myself and one of my good friends, Jordan Samuels, right?
Mhm.
We started a movement at FIT called Live to Inspire. All right.
Yes, I remember. Mhm.
Yeah. So we were saying that we wanted to find a way to like inspire people that are around us to achieve more, to be more, to do more, but not just to do it for doing the sake, but to recognize and give God the praise for whatever it is that you're achieving. So that was kind of the premise of Live to Inspire. And we started just having Bible studies on campus as well. We tried to do motivational videos as well. We did our own custom shirts and stuff. And
Yep.
we were interviewing even some of the staff on campus. We interviewed, I believe we interviewed Stacey Reader. We interviewed the
Yes.
president of the university at the time, and that was major.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
have him in a video saying, "Hey, live to inspire," and I was that
Yeah.
was the thing. That was the thing. So um, that was one of the biggest highlights of college. The Live to Inspire movement. It literally we even got featured in the Florida Today newspaper because of Live to Inspire. And
Okay.
when I went back to Jamaica one summer, that's how I got an interview as well on Smile Jamaica, talking about what Live to Inspire was,
Sure.
and the mission of it as well. So, and
Sure.
of course,
Okay. Well,
that graduated into other things after college.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember you mentioned Stacey Reader, which I mean we have so much to give thanks to her for. So for those who are watching, Stacey Reader is pretty much the person who helped to develop the relationship between the Aviation Club and Florida Tech. So the university found out about the Aviation Club through her, Mrs. Stacey Reader, and through her we had developed a relationship where all of our club members are guaranteed at least 10,000 US part scholarship out of their tuition per year. And it is through that relationship that Curtis and others who followed after Curtis went to Florida Tech and benefited from that scholarship program. So, and at the end of it, in addition to that, she's the one that deals with every single club member that desires to go to FIT. She's the one who reviews the application. If there's any issues, she's the one that club members go to and get their issues resolved very quickly. To give you an idea, there was a club member who applied to FIT, Curtis. I don't know if I told you about it, but he applied to FIT, got denied into FIT, came
Yeah.
back to the club and said, hey, unfortunately, this is what happened. I'm like, but everything seems like it's supposed to line up. So, anyways, one quick phone call to Stacey Reader by the following day, he was accepted into FIT. So
Wow.
we have developed that relationship with Florida Tech. And it was not until after a few years, I believe you even went to FIT before I got the chance to visit, see the campus. see the persons behind the scenes who, have been working alongside with us and have been helping, to bring our club members to the university and see them succeed while there. But when I went to the university, the treatment that I got was on another level. I was not prepared for it.
5 star.
Um, 5 star. Oh, the Aviation Club of Jamaica is coming to FIT. Let's get all of these stuff in place. So we got the full I got the full exposure to the university. It was my first, I would say, VIP experience. Where when I went to the university and turned the day, no waiting in lines, introduced everybody in the office. Somebody said, hey, Mrs. Reed, is that one of your new students? No, he's VIP. That type
Yep,
of
I remember
treatment.
that.
We went around to the cafeteria, and she would not let me not try everything in the cafeteria. All you can eat, as you know, cafeteria, but she would not let me leave without trying every single thing in the cafeteria. And then after that, we went to the airport, and while I thought it was just a common tour of FIT's flight department, their infrastructure, the airplanes and stuff like that, we actually went flying, which none of us were prepared for. We just say, hey, which airplane you want to you want to fly, or what you want to do, and we flew around the campus, flew around Melbourne, and then we came back and just had that complete experience on what FIT has to offer, and it's all thanks to her. She coordinated everything. I think we got to meet. I don't think it was a president, but there's somebody else that we took a photo with while we were there. I don't remember who he was,
Yes,
but I
I
still have the
remember him.
photo.
Yep.
Yeah, and then after that, after you went to FIT, we had other persons who came along, like Justin Hamilton, who is also a Caribbean Airlines pilot now. So Justin was a part of our St. Diego chapter, and then he went over to FIT. I don't remember what his degree was in, but he also became a pilot, flight instructor. There was an instructor for about 2 years before coming home, and then got into to Florida, got into Caribbean Airlines. Sorry. So, a lot of there are a handful of club members that went to FIT, and thanks to Stacey Reed, who have worked hand in hand with the club, representing FIT to ensure that our club members are getting the opportunity to excel just as how you did. And what a lot of persons don't know about FIT is that they're so well surrounded by a lot of aviation companies like Embraer, Northrop Grumman,
Right.
not even just aviation, but a lot of technology. A company is responsible for the development of technology.
Right.
So if you drive around FIT, you see that a particular building has been donated to FIT by such and such organization. It's a small university, but it's large, just the same.
Right.
Um, but yeah, not to stray too much from your story. The one of the key areas of your journey that I wanted to touch on as well was the actual transition to Boeing, right? You were one of the persons who you got a job before you even graduated
Mm.
FIT, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember going to the graduation and hearing his speech, which was very heartwarming as well. But leading up to that, how did that happen? Getting that opportunity with Boeing, straight out of FIT. You weren't one of those persons who had to wait the 2 or 3 years to get a job. You had your left foot in FIT still, waiting for that transition, but then your right foot was already in Boeing. How did that happen?
All right. That's a story, right? Every time I tell the story after this, like it humbles me because it shows it's a combination of hard work, right? But also favor, also favor. You know what I mean? And my wife was on the line. She knows all about the journey. Chrissy, I know you're here. I would love and appreciate you. All right. Because she's always been there through the entire journey from high school, um, to
Yeah.
FIT to Boeing to now. right? But I've been applying to Boeing from freshman year. I just got from freshman year. I'm like, hey, I want to work for that company. Period.
Mhm.
So I've been applying, get denied, 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 denied. Sophomore year, denied, denied, denied. Junior year, denied, denied. So what happened was I was a part of this organization called the National Society of Black Engineers.
Mhm.
And what they did every single year, they had a massive convention that they sent all of their students to. Um, and this chapter is this organization is at almost every single campus in the US. So imagine thousands of students coming into one state at a huge
Mhm.
convention to try and compete for jobs at major corporations like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, NASA. All right.
Mhm.
So in my junior year, which is my third year of college, the first that was in California. So I went there and I was like, I want to work for Boeing. So I went to apply to them. Um, and I got turned down. All right.
Oh.
And I literally didn't apply to anywhere else. Still, I was all right. I was enjoy the rest of the convention. And just like came back, right, and waited for the next year.
Mhm.
So the next year we went to in Boston, and about 4 or 5 thousand students there. Everyone applying. The Boeing lines were as long as TSA lines on a on a normal day, right?
Yeah.
Long. And I went into the line to get an internship because I wasn't finished with the school yet, like I said. So I was like, you know what, let me try and get an internship first. I was kind of limiting myself, to be honest. Let's get an
Mhm.
internship. And I was in the line for like 2 hours waiting, right? There were persons in the line with their PhDs, their masters, their degrees up to a thermometer level, right? And with
Yeah.
experience. And I was just there, not even finished college yet. Um, and a guy walked over to me saying, "Hey," he was asking persons, do you want full-time jobs or do you want internships?" And when it came to me, he said, I told him I wanted an internship. He was like, "What year are you in?" I was like, "I'm in my final year." So he's saying, "Go to the next line and wait there." So I moved from that line after waiting 2 hours into a new one
Yeah.
and waited two more hours again to get
Okay.
to the front. Right? Some
Yeah.
person left, but I stood in that line. I was serious. I was like, I'm not leaving here without this job.
Mhm.
Right? Got to the front of the line. Spoke to the first screening because there's like different screening stations. First screening, they asked what kind of job do you want. I'm like, I'm an aerospace engineer major. I want to get a job in that field. They're like, we don't have that specific title of a job right now. We'll talk to this
Okay.
person over there. So send me to another person.
Mhm.
I went to that person who was hiring for jobs in, I think, Everett, Washington. Um,
Okay.
but he didn't have anything specific for what I wanted to do. So he said, talk to this other person. So I was going around in circles, right?
Mhm.
Talk to this other person. And when I showed him my resume, like this is one thing that person should understand. You want to make sure you stand out, all right?
Yeah.
So I had my resume reviewed hundreds of times by my professors in college, persons who work for different corporations. So what can I do differently, right? And I did some things on my resume that were different from everyone else. I won't say what they are
Okay.
right now. If you guys love tips on that, we can, reach out and we can work on something. Maybe do something like a seminar somewhere to help
Sure.
persons with
Yeah,
resume
man.
building. But I did some
Yeah,
things that
man.
were different on my resume. And when they saw that difference, and when they saw the specifically that I did structural analysis on the Formula One car, right?
Mhm.
He was intrigued. So he signaled to his manager, so with some fake over ear or something like that. Manager came
Mhm.
over, and they were like, we like what we're seeing right here, right?
Okay.
Go to the front, sign up for interview tomorrow. Did that, came the next day, did the interview, all right? And during the interview, literally, when I mentioned that I was part of the Aviation Club of Jamaica, when I mentioned that
Mhm.
I was doing a Live to Inspire, it wasn't just talking about what you did in school. And that's one of the things that I want to encourage persons who are going to be applying for positions is that don't just focus on your academics. They want to show that you are a well-rounded individual, working on
Sure.
leadership projects, doing things that will set you up for success. And your personality means more to the company. Your coachability and your personality and your willingness to adapt
Sure.
means more to a company than your educational background. All
Yeah.
right. So hopefully
Okay.
somebody got that. So I was talking to him, telling him all those things, and you know, They didn't give you an inclination as to whether they liked it or not, right?
Yeah.
But literally the next day, I got a call and say, "Hey, is this Curtis Marsh?" I'm like, "Yes, it is Curtis
Mhm.
Marsh." "Oh, this is XYZ calling from the Boeing company. We'd like to offer you a position." I was like, I
Yeah.
literally, I literally fell to my knees in the convention center
Yeah.
in a suit and everything and said, "God, thank you."
Yeah.
Literally, thank you. I immediately called Chrissy. I as well told her what happened, right? And we were just excited because I was like, it's
Yeah.
like, look at that. Persons were there with higher GPAs than I had, right?
Yeah.
But there were only two persons out of the entire thousands of persons who got hired at Boeing for that location. Only two of us, and I was one of them.
Okay. Yeah.
So that blew me away. That blew me away. So that
Yeah.
was kind of my journey to being at Boeing, and I was still 6 months out from graduating. 6 months out from
Yeah.
graduating. You know what I mean?
So you
And
got the job before graduating FIT. That's pretty good.
yeah, they stipulated like, yo, we got once you graduated, you're set. And like you mentioned at graduation, the president of the university, he read an anecdote, just a short story of, how I got hired at Boeing and all that stuff. And that
Yeah.
was that was that was humbling as well. And that was
Yeah.
definitely
It
humbling.
was.
So, yeah.
Yeah, man. All right. So at Boeing now, what has that experience been like so far? Is it anything that you imagined it would be, or is it much better? What are some of the challenges that you have? What have you learned? Tell us a little bit about the overall
Okay.
experience at Boeing so far.
So good question. So it's been a great experience so far, to be honest.
Mhm.
Because I work on the defense side of Boeing, so I'm
Mhm.
not at liberty to say details of what I do, right? For
Definitely.
for
Okay.
for reasons, but we work on military aircrafts, specifically. Where I work, we work on the V-22 Osprey, and
Mhm.
also the Chinook, some F-18s as well, right? Because Boeing does not just commercial aircraft, right? We do satellites, we do
Sure.
military aircraft and all that stuff.
Hold on
And
one second, Curtis.
yep,
Let me
go
let
ahead.
me stop you right there. The Instagram gives us only an hour per segment, so we're gonna have to stop this segment here and then come back again and continue. All right.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, everybody. So back again. We're gonna continue with part two of the interview with Boeing Aerospace engineer Curtis Marsh. For those who are here, thank you for joining and thank you for coming back for the second segment. Curtis was just telling us about his experience now at Boeing Aerospace. I think he has been there for 3+ years now. So he will be speaking with us again as soon as he joins back to live. Sorry. All right, bro. So we're back at it again. So you were telling us about your experience at Boeing now.
Right. Yep. So, so at Boeing, like I said, I work on the defense side. But I have the unique opportunity to be working, like say, in the office and doing calculations, and then literally just looking over the glass window and
Okay.
seeing the aircraft being put together, stage by stage by stage. And I don't think a lot of companies offer you that unique opportunity. So
Yeah.
that's unique to me, and it keeps me excited. So sometimes, let's say you're
Definitely.
working on something and you are, sitting on a PC can be, can seem mundane for a while. But if you want to get
Mm-hmm.
that inspiration to see, what are you actually working on, you just literally get out of the office, you walk downstairs, and you just go touch the aircraft. You go inside the
Yeah.
aircraft, you look at it, you become one with it. Um, and that's one of the biggest highlights. Um, it's a great company. You have a lot of opportunity to grow as not
Mm-hmm.
just an engineer, but as a leader. Um,
Sure.
so at Boeing, I do a couple other things too. I'm involved in some 3D printing stuff. I'm involved in some drone flying as well. I do teach some drone classes. And also, I'm a part of the youth arm of Boeing where we try to find the next generation of engineers because Boeing is over 100 years old now. So we're trying to keep the youth arm going to inspire the next generation of engineers to really take Boeing into the year 200.
Okay.
So it's been great. It's been great, and no complaints at all.
Definitely. All right. So what are some of the so for the younger persons who are listening in, and maybe even those who are a part of our own generation presently, what are some of the key lessons that you have learned that you can pass on to them, as well
Mhm.
as what kind of advice would you give to persons who just have a dream and genuinely want to achieve that dream because they have their why. It could be to better themselves or better their situation.
Yeah.
What kind of advice, as well as lessons learned that you would pass on to those listening.
All right. I think what I would say is first and foremost, it doesn't matter what you're pursuing. You have to have a why. That's the foundation of every single thing that you're gonna go towards. Your why will help you. Your why will get you through the tough times and the dark times. So if I was talking to my younger self right now, or to somebody who's watching, who's probably or age and wanting to achieve something great, um, why do you want to do it? Right? Is it just for yourself? Is it to break a chain of poverty in your family? Do you want to be the first person to go to college in your family? Like, write that why down. Find out what it is and write it down. The moment you put it down on paper, then no, read it to yourself every single day because now it's gonna go into your mind and you're gonna start to act on that. Right? And I'll always have a no quit mentality. Never quit. Right? Never take no for an answer. Like we could have taken no for an answer so many times with the club. We could
Definitely.
have
Yeah.
stopped. We could have stopped doing like some of the persons say it's not gonna work. Why are you guys wasting time and energy going to Tinsipen to fly aircrafts? Right? Um, but we saw something greater than ourselves, and we literally took no as a vitamin to go to the
Mhm.
next level with the aviation club. So I would say never take no for an answer, right? Um, and also you want to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people. All right. When we were doing the whole aviation club thing, we try to find people who would support our dreams. So we spoke to pilots, all right. We spoke to air traffic controllers. We spoke to persons who were in a position to help us. So surround yourself with people who will feed your dream and not kill your dream, all right.
Mhm.
And just stay disciplined and stay humble as well on your journey. Whenever you're blessed with something, let's say you got through the college, right? You got a job that you always wanted, right?
Mhm.
Now stay humble, and that's how more blessings will come your way. Um, Maybe one other thing I would also say is always do more than you are expected.
Mhm. Okay.
Hopefully that sinks in. Always do more than you're expected. Whether it's in your schoolwork, um, if your teacher says, these are the requirements, go above and beyond. Do that plus some, right?
Mhm.
In college, do that plus some. When you're working at your job, work more on yourself than at your job, meaning develop the habit of doing more than what you're paid for. And that will literally highlight you as a person who has that character for excellence all the time.
Definitely. Okay.
And you're gonna be the person they're gonna want to promote. Trust and believe me.
Mhm.
All right, so just keep
Okay.
dreaming and you get there.
All right. So my next question for you is, where do you see the aviation club of Jamaica in the next 5 years?
Sheesh. All right. I mean, I remember in high school, we're sitting down, we were dreams asking ourselves the same question. Remember, Samuel, me, you,
I
I think
remember.
Ropa,
Yeah.
and we were visualizing what is the aviation going to be in the next 10 to 15 years, 20 years. And I think it
Mhm.
still holds true today, where I see it as being a hub for persons who are aviation enthusiasts and even aviation professionals, um, like a place where you can transition into your professional career, right? So I seen the club having its own university. I seen the club having its own schools set up, educational system, curriculum set up to help the average person who has a desire to be a pilot, who has a desire to be an engineer, who has a desire to pursue something in aviation, to get all their questions answered and to have resources available to them, whether it be scholarship, whether it be education, whatever it is, to get that dream realized. All right. I see us
Sounds good.
owning. I see us owning airlines. I see us owning airports. Like I'm telling you, the sky is not the
Yeah,
limit, right? It's a point of view.
true.
So yeah,
That's
bro.
true. Definitely true. All right. Well, that's good. I share that same vision with you. So what I wanted to do now was to open up to some questions that persons may have for you.
Okay.
I know
Okay.
there was one that was asked by Jamel Sterling asked if are you in the Air Force Reserve or full time?
Okay. Gotcha. Good question. So I'm not reserve. I'm part of the Air National Guard. So they're similar but different. So the reserve is more federal. So you can be sent anywhere in the states, but I'm a part of a specific um, state branch. But yes, I'm part of the Air Force as well, part
Okay.
time.
All right. There was a next question if I can find it. Well, this one is going to put you on the spot. How greatly is Boeing affected by the 737 MAX? I knew
You
that
know,
question was coming.
I was expecting that if I didn't get that question, then I would be surprised.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not at liberty to say, to be honest. Most of that is kept at a high level. Um,
sure.
so the corporate, the executive, they're dealing with that at a high level. But of course, you guys can see the general news. Stock prices went down, right, from 300 to about 100 plus, and that's gonna have some shaking in the company. But as a company overall, um, we are still strong. We're still definitely still strong. Or we have a lot of core values that we live by, making sure that
Mhm.
it's always quality first, right? All the time. So even though there's a lot
Definitely.
of issues that happen with the Max, right, that still holds true, and we're gonna keep continuing to put out great products so that the world can actually, benefit from it.
Okay. All right, guys. Any other questions for Curtis that you may have? You can either you can post them in the comment section here, or there. I believe there's a feature on Instagram where you can there's this icon where you can press to notify us that you have a question. Um, so if you desire to become an aerospace engineer, or if you want some info on what life was like at Florida Institute of Technology, Melbourne, Florida, um, feel free to ask any questions. Let me see if anybody had asked any. But yeah, I definitely like that 5 year vision though.
for for real, brother. Wait, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, trust me. I believe so too. Um, so as I'm
Meanwhile,
as I'm
questions are
go
coming
ahead.
in. I wanna say this initiative of having the Instagram live. I really commend you for doing it. A lot of
Mhm.
times, I know there's a lot going on in the world right now with the COVID and different things,
Definitely,
but
yeah,
you still found a way to keep the everyone engaged to talk about current topics within aviation, and I really commend you for, you know, creating that initiative.
definitely. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, so I see two questions just popped up. The first one is by 876 Dane. I did my first flight last year at FIT and it was a great experience. Oh, it's more a statement than a question. Highly recommend that university. All right, thank you for that, Dane.
Yeah.
Um, Nikki, can you describe the student life at FIT and was there a lot of diversity? I know the diversity was definitely there, but so
Okay.
she's asking life at FIT and was there a lot of diversity?
Right. Good question. So Life FIT, let's talk about diversity first. It's very diverse, very, very diverse. I believe it was 75% international students,
Yeah.
if my numbers are correct. like very diverse. We have persons from Qatar, from Ethiopia, from all over Africa, of course, Jamaica, right? Big up. Um,
Yeah.
everywhere in the world. So you literally thrown into a mixing pot of different cultures. We have international festivals as well where we have booths set up. And you can taste different cuisine from all the different countries. That was an amazing part of FIT. You know, when you're going there for your first 2 years as an international student, you're going to be living on dorms for the first 2 years.
Mhm.
So, which is definitely advantageous because you don't want to be dealing with you know, renting a place and having that kind of all those variables going on. And you literally just
Yeah.
wake up and go to class. Wake up and go to class.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
very, very interactive and hands-on university. It's not just theory. Trust me. Very interactive. If you learn something in class, you're gonna be doing it practical, and that's one of the things that I
Mhm.
appreciate about FRT. Um,
Mhm.
so I would say the student experience is immaculate, and like compared to any other university that you can choose.
Okay, I agree. I remember when I visited FIT and I saw how everything was set up. I found it to be pretty admirable. What can I specifically speak on? I mean, the student support is very good, in my opinion. Is very
Yeah.
good. I've never studied at FIT, but when I visited, and it was I visited in an active time, so it wasn't like when it was summer, and, persons were on break, and I'm only seeing a handful of people. It was within a school semester and stuff, and when you went out to class, and I just ventured out and started roaming the place to see what life was like. It was pretty good. Um, somebody asks, how does FIT, Raman asks, how does FIT compare to Embry Riddle? I don't know if you can answer that.
I mean, I don't think I think I've only been to Embry once. Um,
Okay.
in terms of the size, I can't recall. I'm pretty sure FIT is smaller than Embry because FIT
Definitely, yeah.
is a smaller university, but FIT has different campuses. In terms, we have the main campus and we have different campuses spread across. So it's more spread out, and
Hmm.
I'm probably by this point, it's they're trying to connect those dots as well. But um, I can't really speak to Embry campus because I didn't actually go there. So sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah. But Embry Riddle, as we know, it is a very good school as well. So
Definitely.
um, as much as we have developed a relationship with FIT, at the same time, if Embry seems to be a better fit for you, then by all means pursue your, because at the end of the day, it's really the same thing. You can get your pilot's license and aerospace engineering degree at both institutions. It's all about what is more suitable for you
Mhm.
to to give you that opportunity to achieve the goal in becoming a professional. Uh,
Right.
somebody asks, what was it like studying engineering at FIT, where the course is hard for you?
um, I would say everything is hard until you know it. So
Yeah.
I, I can't live by that rule. You know what I mean? So um, because I mean I always loved math and physics, but I don't think I didn't do Cape math. So I literally started back
Okay.
when I studied about math when I went to FIT. So
Mhm.
but I pick up on math quickly. So once you have a strong math background, then every other course pretty much stems off from that. You know what I mean? I always tell people math has nothing to do with numbers. They're like, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. It's all about reasoning. It's all about reasoning. The numbers facilitate the reasoning. Um,
Okay.
but I think my hardest class would be hmm, maybe partial differential equations and um my rockets class. I think those two were the two hardest class. Yeah,
All right.
but we
Well,
overcame
hopefully
it.
that answers the questions, but because I don't know what the hell you're talking about now. Um, any other questions for Curtis, guys? I have a question for you, Curtis. What
Yes,
is
sir.
your 5 year plan like? Where do you see yourself in your next 5 years?
Uh, all right, putting me on the spot, bro. I like it. I like it. In the next 5 years. I mean, literally, I have a vision board. I have things I write down on the board and different stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in the next 5 years, because I'm not just focused on being an aerospace engineer alone, just being authentic. My wife and I, we do have another business, what I mean, where we do entrepreneurial endeavors. So we want to put a lot into that as well
Okay.
to just kind of have a conglomerate in that area. Um, so I want to create we want to create like a foundation for sure that we can give back.
Okay.
And what is that foundation? Definitely is going to be something to do with aviation also. We can give back to the aviation community, and also to the business community as well. Um,
Okay.
in the next 5 years, not sure where I'll be located physically, but um, definitely just growing more in aerospace. If I'm still being at Boeing, if you're still being there, then I'll definitely be in some kind of executive role. And you know,
Okay.
just expand my knowledge base in the industry so I can give back. Because my goal is just to give back, get to a place where I can give back more and more to people.
Definitely, definitely. One of the main questions I skipped to ask you, which is probably one of the ideal questions to ask in this type of platform, is how do you get over the financial challenges to be
Okay.
able to get where you are now? I know you said you had to take loans and stuff, but then you would have been packed with repaying those loans today.
Right. Right.
So how did you get over that challenge?
While going to school.
Well, while going to school, we know that you were working and you took out the loans.
Right.
But today, you would have still been paying back those loans for school, which would amount to maybe a couple of 100,000 US
Mm-hmm.
dollars if you're paying 25 per semester, right? So that's
Right.
what, 50
Per
50,000
year.
US per year.
Right.
Times that by four, that's 200,000
200.
US for
Right.
4 years. So
Right.
after you left FIT, as much as you're going to Boeing and you're doing all of these good stuff, you're still left with $200,000 in debt. How did
Right.
you overcome, or how are you overcoming that challenge? Is it just a simple case where you're just paying back the loans as best as you can, or what's going
Okay.
on with that?
So it started out as that, just paying him back as best as I can with salary, and just being authentic. Like it's though that's not a small amount of money. That's a lot of money. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of struggle paying that back. That kind of forced me to find other ways of creating income. Because one of the things that if you're doing something that you're passionate about, and then not you're struggling financially, right? So at some point that passion can become dwindled. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I have to find other quick ways of bringing more income in. We're looking into real estate. We're looking into stocks. We're looking into forex trading, right? And that's kind of where we found our niche. So
Okay.
my wife and I, we started Inspire Wealth, where we allow persons access to learn how to multiply money in the foreign exchange market. So we learned how to do that, and that's what's been helping us to offset these loans. And I mean, I don't want to say any claims, but it's that the astronomical number is not what it is, not what it was for sure. Definitely not what it was for sure. Because of having our own online business plus trading plus doing different things. That's why before I said in the next 5 years, even though I'm a strong advocate for, if you want to be an engineer, aerospace engineer, go for it, pursue it, right?
Mhm.
But you have to have enough gas, you have to have enough fuel in you to work on your dreams, but take care of your responsibilities at the same time,
Sure, sure.
right? So that,
Okay.
that just means make sure do what you need to do to make sure everything else is taken care of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. All right. Raman again asked, if you do a degree in engineering and aviation management at FIT, how much would that cost? Well, I don't think Curtis would know that right now because I don't
Mm.
think you're up to date with what's happening with FIT, especially the finances of the financial requirements of pursuing a course. That would have to be a question for FIT directly. When it comes on to the costing of the program, you'd have to ask them that directly. Not
Yeah.
sure what that cost is now.
Yeah. It may be on their
Any other
website
questions?
as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Any other questions for Curtis Marsh, guys and girls? So shout out to Florida Tech. I think we should do a live with them one of these days.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be great.
and even some other guys at Boeing too, if that can be arranged. Because I know there are a handful of Jamaicans or Jamaican born persons
Yeah,
at Boeing
man.
where you are, right?
Yeah, man. I know that Jamaican plus other Caribbean persons as well. So we'll see what we
Yeah,
can get done to get them on the program for sure.
definitely. And hopefully we can work on another event when you come back home. You know, we can talk to some future aerospace engineers, get
Right.
their questions asked. You know, um, Jamel is asking, Airbus in the future? Is Airbus in your plans in the future?
All right, you're trying to tie me up, right? I reserve that
Yeah,
one. I reserve that one.
he pleading
Thanks,
the
bro.
fifth, Jamel.
Uh,
Well, I can answer that. I'm definitely a Airbus person, but it's only because Curtis and I are good friends why I don't trouble him about it.
yeah. Hey, I'm all for for technology and once it's a safe aircraft, then definitely all for it for sure. But I am that person who, before I go on a flight, I'm not looking at what aircraft is it. Okay, I'm not sure I want to take that flight.
I see, I see. So a question for you. What kind of projects do you think we can take on with your help, with giving persons a hands-on experience um, towards aerospace engineering? Because of course, it's one of those careers where you definitely have to have the skill and the qualifications before you can get involved. But
Right,
for those who, just like for those who want to become pilots, they are never really 100% sure until they go behind the controls and power up that engine, barreling down the runway and then pull back that yoke and in the air, manipulating the
right,
controls. And when they come back, there's like, yes, I definitely want to be a pilot. But then there are those, the same for aerospace engineers who may have an idea that this is what they want to do, but are not entirely sure. What can we do to kind of give them that hands-on exposure to the aerospace industry so that you can come back and whenever you have the time and play that mentorship role and allow persons to build a rocket or build a drone and fly it or what do you think we can do as a club?
I think it started to nail some of the topics in because I was going to mention some of those things. Definitely the math background is going to be needed to pursue on a professional level.
Okay.
But from a recreation enthusiast level, definitely having some hands-on projects like building rockets. Um, so maybe we can even start with like having a connection or liaison with some of the universities, right? UA, UTech, and working with some of their professors, and then we create some kind of a project where our competition, right? I think that would be a good way to
Yeah.
start with a competition,
Yeah.
um, to design a rocket, right? Or some kind of fixed wing aircraft or rotary wing aircraft, and give it some requirements. You got to take off, you got to land, and see what comes from it, right? And with the guidance of I'll do what I can do, of course, to provide the support for that. And we'll just create a framework and get that done. That'll be good to get the exposure of what the
Sure.
industry really is, you know. Yep. So that
Definitely.
would be my take on it.
Sounds good. All right. So somebody asked if I can find out the question here, but it was pretty much saying that can somebody be here it is. what do you think about astronomical engineering, and do you think someone that is not good in math and physics can accomplish that goal?
Gotcha, gotcha. I would say firstly, you can learn anything you want to learn. No, there's persons who are born naturally with a more inclination towards math or physics or whatever. But if you truly would love to be a astronomical engineer, astronautical engineer, then you can get there regardless of where you are in the math level. No, um, kind of sorry, read by the question to me. I think I lost my train of thought. But read by the question to me so I can answer them properly.
Yeah, man, no problem. So the question was, what do you think about astronomical engineering, and do
Hmm.
you think someone that is not good in math and physics can accomplish that goal?
All right, got it. So we'll cover the last portion of, if you can accomplish it. Yes, you can accomplish it. Right? It may be difficult, but with repetition, you will get it. Now, secondly, I love that portion of aerospace. I think that's where I want to go into next. I've been working with, aircrafts for 3 years, 3 plus years, almost four now, which is still a short time, right? But at the same time, I love to diversify. So I love the thought of space. I think what's going on right now with commercial space travel, that's going to be amazing. Elon Musk, he's definitely a giant in the industry, person like Richard Branson with Virgin Galactic as well. Um, I think the industry is amazing. I think there's a lot of growth that can take place. I know we want to try to go to Mars. Like personally, I'm kind of a daredevil. I would love to be a person to take one of those trips, but I know I can't just do that, right? Because of other responsibilities. Um,
Yeah,
but it's just fascinating to think about that us as human beings, we put things outside of the Earth's atmosphere. Just think about that. We have literal satellites floating around. Like the phone we're talking on right now is we're able to do that because we place satellites in outer space, and that's also aerospace
yeah,
engineering.
yep,
It fascinates me, and so I love it, and I
definitely.
think it's gonna be the future for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions for Curtis, guys? We can take one or two more. Any questions whatsoever? Let's see if there is any posted here. So yeah, so just to recap, guys, in the meanwhile, we're talking to Curtis Marsh, Boeing Aerospace engineer. He had joined the Aviation Club back at Meadowbrook High School. Back then, it was just the club was only at Meadowbrook High School before we expanded to other high schools. Curtis initially wanted to become a pilot, but um, I don't want to say he changed. He just shifted his focus based on his skill sets and abilities to, I guess, um, with math, specifically with being very good in math and just having an interest as well in engineering. So, went to pursue aerospace engineering at the Florida Institute of Technology for 4 years. 6 months before completing the 4 years, he got a job offer, of course, which he took at Boeing Aerospace. Has been an aerospace engineer for 3 plus years. Also is in the United States Air Force, and has a very decorative resume as it is now, and has a very interesting journey. Still young, like many of us, still accomplished a lot, went through a lot to accomplish a lot.
Mm.
Also, and we thank him for being here with us today. And I think there's another question. Jared, whether Jared actually went to Meadowbrook as well as a part of our club. And his question is, do you think that we could be creating spacecraft to go to the moon soon?
Definitely, definitely. That's being worked on, for sure. Like as we speak. It's set to the moon, right?
Yeah, he said to the moon.
I mean that's been accomplished already, right? So so maybe you're talking about like commercial travel to the
Yeah, I
moon.
think that's what he's. Yeah, I think that's
Gotcha,
what he's
gotcha.
referring to.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's in the thought process right now, of many entrepreneurs, and and the government overall. So
Mhm.
that'll be exciting. I'll take that first trip for sure.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
don't think I'll take the first trip. I'll probably go on the second or the third. When they said always never go on the first trip, you know, so they can iron out the kinks and all of that first.
Right, right.
All right. Well, I'm not sure if there are any other questions or comments. So again, Curtis, thank you for being here with us. For especially for taking out the time on both days. Yesterday we had our club meeting online via Zoom, which turned out to be very good. And then today you're here with us again on the Instagram Live platform. Okay, so the missus says, what advice would you offer to other students who are thinking about attending school overseas? That's from Mrs. Marsh.
All right. Excellent question, right? Um, if you're thinking about attending school overseas, specifically in this career field, then the aviation club is your go-to place for sure. This is a good start to start having a communication, and
Mhm.
start to put into the right schools, right, for aviation. Um,
Sure.
Definitely, definitely. Because we can help with scholarships. I know personally, if you want to go to FIT, there's other grants that I could possibly help with.
Persons can get. Yeah.
Persons can get as well. So that would be my first start. If it's something outside of aviation, I mean, I can't necessarily speak to that, but just do your research. Do your research and make sure that what you're going to study. All right, let me say this because I have friends who came to school overseas and they studied a specific type of engineering. But after they studied, they they're not working, right? Or their degree didn't necessarily translate into them being able to work anywhere. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you want to do your
Definitely.
research and make sure whatever you're going to study, you are marketable. All right.
Mhm.
Yes, make sure you have a passion for it, but marry that passion with something that can make sure that you are marketable to the economy, so that your resume, you can stand out as someone they want to employ. All right.
Okay.
Um,
Sounds
there's
good.
also one more thing about probably sound. There's also
Yeah,
stuff for
man.
green cards and all that stuff, right? That's a big deterrent for most persons. Um, don't let that stop you. All right. I
Mhm.
would just take the first step, apply, and then figure out funding through maybe the scholarships, or get some if you want to get some loans co-signed, or start a business on the side, right? Do whatever you need to do, get through that, and then the rest will unfold, right? Just always do your best, 120%, and trust and believe me, like the doors will open up for you to, you know, get the job that you want to get, or just do whatever you want to do.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your journey with us. Thank you for sharing the advice and the lessons and all of that you have learned that can be passed on to us and the younger generation and just those generally who are listening to this live. So again, Curtis, thank you for being here. And as usual, we're here cheering you on and looking forward to further updates on the the next success story that comes up from your endeavors. So looking forward to it, bro. And again, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for answering all the questions and sharing all this information with us. Really appreciate it.
And you're very welcome, Sam. Yeah, I know we're coming from very, very far, so
Yeah.
this was a no-brainer, no-brainer. And I thank you for just always taking initiative, always, putting other person's needs before yours, because this is you're not doing this for you, you're doing this for the general public to benefit from it. So I commend you as a pioneer, as a man of initiative, and someone who takes a risk for the greater good of people. All right. And I see the club being, I told you, the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years, right, it's going to happen. It's going to be that hope for anybody who wants to get into aviation. They got to know that Aviation
Definitely.
Club is a place to be connected with. All right.
To
So thank
be,
you for having
yeah.
me on.
All right, bro. So until next time, stay safe as usual, and I wish you all the best. Just the same.
All right. Thank you, man. God bless.
All right, bro. Take care. Take care, guys. Stay safe out there.